It's important to always, I think, time capsule this story. So when you see these elegant, intelligent, polished, beautiful women standing before the Capitol, they were children, many of them, when they were assaulted. Or they were, as the first victim spoke out, I love that description of a sliding doors moment in her life, where if she hadn't, walked through the door or been manipulated to do so and introduced to Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, her life would have been totally different. Because I think it captures what was taken from all these victims, some of them as young as children. Are we still a country capable of holding children victims of sex abuse in the center of a story like this, right? Like, are we, can we still do this?
Yeah, I think we can. I mean, first of all, I think, the fact that you're seeing some bipartisan movement on the Hill to really hold the president, by virtue of releasing the files, hold the president accountable on this, I think is symbolic of some certain small sliver of the Republican Party that believes that transparency is the order of the day. And I think the development this afternoon, that these victims are once again at the center of the story and that they are speaking out, really changes the dynamic on all of this, right? It is not sufficient or acceptable for the president of the United States to say, in the wake of this public testimony, this is a Democrat hoax. These are women who were children when they were abused. They want their stories told. And man, I don't know about you, Nicole, but I was really struck by the fierceness, the anger, the complete lack of trepidation to go forward with their stories and accounts. I mean, Vicky was talking about one of the first speakers, Anuska DeGiorgio, and she said, I am no longer weak, I am no longer powerless, and I am no longer alone. The thing about sharing your story and building kinship and building sisterhood around this is that these victims clearly feel a lot stronger together than they were before when they were in the shadows alone. And that is not the kind of thing that you can bottle back up. You cannot put these women back into the corner. And I think the more Trump goes out there and the more he tries to undermine their accounts, the more he tries to wave this away, the angrier they will get. I mean, you heard another victim say, we're going to release our own client list. They have the information, whether Donald Trump's Justice Department wants to release it or not. There are people who know what happened, and they are in front of microphones now.
Let me play some of Anushka's sounds, since you've all mentioned her.
I have been threatened. I was threatened by phone. My daughter was threatened when I was volunteering to participate in, by means of being a witness in a civil lawsuit that Virginia Giuffre was bringing against Ghislaine Maxwell. I have been followed. I have been stalked. I have been followed not only by journalists, but by people who do not get out of the car and do not try and talk to me and just drive behind me as I drive my daughter to school. So the fear is very real for us. I have also been in multiple situations with both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, where they have been direct and indirect about implying and saying that if I was to talk, if I was to bring any kind of trouble, then there would be severe consequence, including death.
Vicky, just explain how she knows Donald Trump.
So Anushka DeGiorgio first met Ghislaine Maxwell in London when she was just a teenager. She talked about this at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. Maxwell introduced her to Jeffrey Epstein. But when she was in New York, she also introduced her separately to Donald Trump. And it was reported in one of the English tabloids many years ago that Maxwell and Anushka went, I believe, to Mar-a-Lago for a weekend with Donald Trump. Anushka DeGiorgio has said publicly that Donald Trump was very nice to her. And there was nothing, I mean, you could see she's very powerful today, and Alex is right, they're angry, but there was no anger directed personally at Donald Trump, which is why his reaction is so baffling, I think, Nicole.
Well, I mean, this whole story has been centered in the political context Tara, around the conspiracy theories that percolated for years on the right. I mean,
Right.
that was elevated by Elon Musk when he was mad at Donald Trump, who tweeted in his final sort of act of breakup rage at Trump, Trump's in the Epstein files, I'm out of here. But it feels like what the victims have accomplished is to pull it back out of the politics and put it back into the crime scene. And I wonder if you think that moves around any tectonic plates in Congress.
I think you're right. I think they have managed to try to sort of walk on this wire and try not to offend either side. I think Virginia Giuffre, before she died, she told me that she believed that President Trump would release the files, that, she believed that because he arrested Jeffrey Epstein in 2019, that this would happen in his administration, like was promised, right? She also said that Elon Musk promised her over DM that he would release the files. A lot of these survivors, they are Republicans. They were hopeful that this administration, after listening to so many MAGA influencers saying that they wanted this out there, they wanted this cabal of, at the time, Democratic elites to be revealed, that this would happen. And so they're not out there saying, we want the head of the president. In fact, Brad Edwards, who's the lawyer for the victims, said, I interviewed Donald Trump in 2009. He subpoenaed him. I interviewed him about this many years ago, trying to get leads on Jeffrey Epstein from Donald Trump because they were in the middle of their real estate feud at the time. But they were very close friends at the height of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. And Trump gave him leads, although he did leave him with a very creepy anecdote about going to Epstein's house and seeing young girls in the pool area, and he told Brad that he asked Epstein about it, and Brad told him that it was a big brother, big sister program, which obviously is very creepy. But the point is that Brad said at the conference, I'm ready to work with you again. We did this before in 2009, Trump. I'm here.
Alex, let me show you what Virginia Giuffre's brother said today about what happens next.
Our plea to you, whether you're a dad, a mom, a brother, or a sister, look your young ones in the face. Look them in the eye and tell them you didn't stand against the very people who raped, molested, and preyed upon children and young women. Tell them you were willing to negotiate a deal. Money should never be what makes something right or wrong. If you vote no, your stance will be clear. You will be choosing to stand on the side of the rich and powerful, allowing money to buy your way out of the consequence. But here's my one ask. Look these survivors in the eye and tell them why. Then, look the people of the United States in the eye and tell them why. And then, when you're alone, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why.
I thought in that moment that all this calcified acquiescence to Trump had its first shot of melting.
Absolutely. I mean, I think about the pictures of Nancy Mace coming out of closed door testimony that was intended to do the opposite, to convince Republicans not to push for the release of these files. And she's weeping. She herself was a victim of sexual harassment, sexual assault. But you don't have to be a victim to understand, to feel the emotional impact of this. You just have to be a human being, alive in the world, to understand the sort of the unbearable and awful iniquity in this world between those who have power, money, fame, and fortune, and those who don't. And that's why this story has been so resonant since 2015, when Donald Trump himself first introduced it, when it was politically convenient for him. And now it's politically inconvenient for him, he's decided, or convenient for other reasons that have not yet been disclosed. And he's trying to back as as far away from it as he can. It reminds me of his position with Operation Warp Speed. You know, the COVID vaccine was a thing he did, and in other ways would be a crowning achievement. And he's trying to get as far away from it as he possibly can because it's no longer politically convenient, no matter how many lives are lost in the process. So the same thing with this, the Jeffrey Epstein saga, revealing Jeffrey Epstein to be the criminal that he was, to be the sick person that he was, is something that is arguably good for society. And now Donald Trump is clearly engaging his party and its elected representatives in trying to prevent the truth from coming out. That is the only explanation for the shenanigans you have seen on the Hill in the last 24 hours.
Well,
the Trump administration could be wading into the New York City mayoral race. Sources tell CNN that aides have floated the idea of offering Mayor Eric Adams a new job ahead of the November election. The goal? To clear the field to potentially boost Andrew Cuomo and get rid of Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani. A spokesman for Adams' campaign said, quote, Mayor Adams has not met with Donald Trump. Don't believe the noise. And that he is not dropping out of the race. I just want to note, has not met with Donald Trump is not the same thing as has not been offered a job by the Trump administration. Would this even work, Christine?
First of all, this is the best thing to happen to Mamdani's campaign because Donald Trump is despised by New Yorkers, and connecting Andrew Cuomo to Donald Trump to help his campaign is only going to send people voting for Mamdani. Beyond that, if other candidates, Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, stays in the race, the numbers are not there for Cuomo.
So maybe this is 4D chess. Maybe the 4D chess is to make New Yorkers think that he's behind Cuomo, and then and then he gets the Republican.
Let's just end the show there. We'll go with that tonight. Good night, everyone.
That he's always wanted. I mean, if Mamdani is the dream candidate of Republicans, why would the White House be trying to get rid of him?
Look, I think the president actually cares about the city he lived in, where his friends are. I think he actually is terrified of what Mamdani was going to do. I go back to his list. Abolish the New York Police Department, abolish prisons, abolish medical bills, abolish private health insurance, ban all guns, legalize sex work, safe injection sites, in cash bail, decriminalize drug possession.
But wouldn't he rather run on that in 2020?
No, but this is where
that was the argument, right?
I don't think you understand Donald Trump the way that I would say you and I do. Like, if you've spent time with him, there are a lot of things that he actually really genuinely cares about. What he went through to run for president again and the hell he went through. Like, I think he loves the people of New York. I think he's terrified of what this is going to do to New York. And I think he's trying to figure out a way to make sure it doesn't happen the same way that he wants to make Washington, D.C. safe. He actually cares.
Maybe the president is predicting the future on this and that he knows that Mayor Adams will need a job and he's getting and he's getting them prepared ahead of time. This is, Scott and I were talking during the commercial break, this is nothing new in the political realm
it happens
where
all the time.
people are offered jobs. I think what is unique here is that the president is jumping into a Democratic primary.
This could backfire, though, Scott, in a big way.
I've already resigned myself to the idea that New York's going to be under the control of the socialists come
the voters
November.
Have a right,
We're going to put the financial capital of the world.
Oh, my gosh.
Under the control of an avowed socialist who wants to do all these terrible things.
Because capitalism is working very well for the working class people.
Look, I still find it hard to believe that this is all going to happen. But Adams getting a job, maybe. Also getting Sliwa out of the race, I think becomes a super long shot. And as a result, I don't see this working. But I'm with you. I mean, Mamdani is the best thing that could happen to Republicans and Donald Trump.
He's like AOC.
He's even better. Even a better villain.
It's worse. He'll ruin. Like, I love New York City. The scary thing is, he's going to ruin an amazing city, and it will end up being.
Oh my God!
Detroit.
So the voters don't know what they're doing, huh?
They get to choose. I don't vote here. They get to choose, and I love they get to choose.
Working class people are suffering right now. That has nothing to do with.
Do you think we should not have criminals in prison? Do you think that?
Those are positions he doesn't support getting rid of prisons or getting rid of the police department.
He said it.
Anymore.
Thank you.
You absolutely did say that.
Anymore.